finals of the losers bracket. As you can see, Brian just beat me in a long 3-game match. That game 3 went on for a while, but now he'll be facing off Brian Cook on Storm. It should be a relatively balanced matchup. I think it depends on how much disruption BBD finds.
I agree. It does depend on that a lot. I mean, I think this is kind of somewhat similar to the 4-color control matchup versus Storm from the pre-banning era, although obviously it's a little slower without Deathrite Shaman. It's a little harder to cast things like Hymn to Torok. Speaking of which, it looks like BBD only has 1 Hymn to Torok in his board, which is a card that I really like. Oh no, he has 3 in the main deck, so he doesn't only have 1 in the board, but 3 in the main deck.
I know, Brian. He's a man who loves his Hymn to Toroks.
That card is just so fun to cast. You just cast it and just laugh with glee as you roll the dice on the table and say, haha, get rid of these 2 cards from your hand. Yeah. I enjoy casting it myself, too.
Yeah, 2 random cards from your hand. They don't really print ones like those anymore.
I know. Do you think that kind of card, if it was not random, would be too good for something like Modern?
Well, it sort of exists already. Wrenchmine exists.
Right. Is that actually just 2 black? Discard 2, target opponent discards 2 black?
Unless if they discard an artifact.
Ah, okay.
And there's also Risefall, which also has...
right. But that hits a land, which is like the fun part.
Yeah, Risefall, if they reveal lands that way, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So,
Fair.
all right. We're down to the match. Let's see. Looks like Bryant has won the play. What does his hand do? Well, I don't think he's mulling that hand, but I'm not sure what the hand does yet.
No, fair enough. I don't think you mulligan the hand. It's got 3 cantrips, so it's basically, okay, you'll find out your hand in 2 or 3 turns.
Well, it only has 1 cantrip, right?
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about BBD's hand. You were talking about Brian's hand.
Brian's hand is also not a mulligan, especially he knows the matchup is a combo deck, so you're going to keep a hand. And also you can find more disruption with those cantrips and try to avoid drawing your cards like Fatal Push, Diabolic Edict, Lightning Bolt, and the like.
Yep. Yeah, there are a lot of those kind of dead cards, like the creature removal that you need for the other matchups that just don't do anything here. So this is somewhat of a different tack here, but KFC or In-N-Out Burger, which side of that battle are you on?
I would take In-N-Out for sure.
Me too. Yeah, me too. It's unfortunate we can't have like a nice banter back and forth about how this one has this advantage, this one has the other advantage. No, In-N-Out Burger is just, I think, completely dominates KFC in every dimension.
Whoa, what the heck? The color changed to black and white. Oh, wow, that's awesome. It's like one of those neon signs.
That is cool. It's also just like the, KFC, like the Colonel's creepy, perhaps sergeant brother or something who didn't quite get as far, the creepy black and white one.
I'm looking at that face from Brian.
I know, right? It's
freaking me out, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's like this is the Demon Barber of Fleet Street KFC version.
Oh yeah, it was something like that. In any case, back to the match. Let's see. So the real question is, what do you do if you're Bryant on turn 1? It's actually, I think, it's sort of a hard decision because the problem with this fetch land is you can't get. There's no 3-color land to get from your deck, right? So you have to decide if you want to get blue-black.
So I assume you get blue-black here, right? Because you have the Chrome Mox to imprint a red source?
I think you would do that. The question is, do you Duress or Brainstorm? And he goes with Duress. I think that's probably correct. If you wait another turn for the Brainstorm, A, you'll know what you need to do or what your opponent has. And B, if you draw a fetch land, it improves your Brainstorm by a significant amount. Yeah,
that makes sense. In general, I kind of just... I like if you have a discard spell using it on turn 1. It's particularly something with like Brainstorm where it probably is better to cast it on turn 2. You get 1 card further deep in your deck and you kind of can hope to hit a fetch land you can play that turn. Right. And shuffle back something that's irrelevant. So I like that.
The perfect draw, Diabolic Edict.
That's what you were talking about earlier with those kind of removal spells that he doesn't want in his hand. Luckily, Brainstorm is a busted card and he has 2 in his hand.
Yeah, kind of. So, here's the thing now. Yeah, I think I like leading with Brainstorm. Again, I'm not a combo wizard. Well, I'm not a LED combo wizard. Let's see. So I think he'll have pretty much enough mana to do whatever he wants. I didn't do the math, but let's see.
Hashtag Jarvis didn't do the math. That seems unlikely.
1, 3, 4, 7 down to 2.
So I guess one consideration is, that Brian has a brainstorm, but I guess the only thing he could hit here that'd be relevant while you're going off is a forcible, right? And so he'd see 3 new cards, but I guess he doesn't, Bryant doesn't know that he drew Diabolic Key. So, 4 out of the remaining 53 cards that he had, and you're hitting 3 forcible, and that's the only thing that could stop him from winning this turn, right?
I think he's just going to go for an empty.
Well, we know that main deck Bryant doesn't have any, or BBD doesn't have any master removal, right? No 1x Toxic Deluge hanging out? Nope.
Right.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
Just going to check my math. No, it's like an empty for 10.
So right now, Bryant's going to do the Burning Wish and hold priority and cack the LED to get some mana here. And then in response, BBD's got to brainstorm and hope he hits a forcible, right? What are his chances?
It was like 3 over
53?
Yeah, approximately. That's not quite right.
Because you draw 1 each time with the brainstorm, and the chances change.
It's a little bit more complicated, but yeah, we just see an empty for 14 goblins. It's probably going to be good enough, barring nothing, right? Like there's nothing.
I don't see a way out of this. With no sweepers, and 14 is enough to swing around any single point removal or blockers you can put up there.
Yeah. I think Brian is checking to see if he has anything good for this. Rabble. The goblins are coming from the warrens. You shake the warrens, you see how many fall out.
See how many of these goblins are not too drunk to go on a raid today?
No, they come from goblin warrens. Do you know that card?
I actually don't think I do, but I'm going to furiously Google it right now.
All right. It's an old card, but basically you can sack 2 goblins to put 3 goblins into play.
Ah, okay. But it costs 3 mana to do that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you net a goblin every time you activate this ability, assuming you start with pick 2. Yeah,
seems a little bit worse than getting 2 goblins for every spell you cast.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's also Goblin Burrows, which is a land from Onslaught.
That one I think I do remember.
Yeah, it's a colorless land. It's a land that taps for colorless. It's 1 in a red tap. Target goblin gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
I remember that one. Yeah. It's from Onslaught, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, it is from Onslaught. There was a cycle of those. There was Wirewood Lodge, Darwin.
Yeah.
Riptide Lab is actually part of that cycle, except it was a rare.
That's the Bounce the Wizard one, right?
Yep.
That one's really good.
Well,
so, go ahead.
Sorry, that one wasn't good until they printed Good Wizards.
Oh, fair enough. But I've just seen that card do some disgusting things with Snapcaster Mages and, Bencers and stuff.
All right.
So, if you are BBD, how do you side here?
Take out as much bad removal as I can for cards that do almost anything.
Yep, makes sense. So, all your Fatal Pushes are coming out, your Edicts, you're bringing in your Sweepers, you're bringing in your Surgicals, your Blue Elemental Blast. I'm kind of surprised to see the Pyroblast and the Red Elemental Blast still sitting in the sideboard. Presumably they'd be better than something like these Kolaghan's commands, but... So,
here's the thing. I thought about that, too, for a brief second. I think Brian is hoping that he can nug, the last card from Brian's hand in response to, a ritual or something. It's a Funeral Charm, essentially.
Okay.
And also, a lot of Storm players play out their artifact mana to get around discard, so K Command can, pick off an LED or something.
That's a good point. Yeah, we definitely saw Bryant do that earlier against, I think it was you, maybe? When he had 4 or 5 of them out there on the battlefield. So yeah, you can definitely just smash something with a K command.
The reason he did that versus me is because of Thorns and Spheres.
Right.
It's different thing, but
true. But just in general, there are reasons sometimes to play out the mana artifacts you have early.
So players do not have access to deck lists, but both of these players have watched the other person play, so they have a pretty good idea.
Gotcha. So BBD's got the turn 1 Thoughtseize and the mono to cast his spells, and then on the other side we have 2 Thoughtseizes plus 2 LEDs plus a Empty the Warrens and a Cantrip.
By the way, I would absolutely keep Brian's hand. A lot of people have this aversion to not having hand with Force Will in it. I think it's okay not to have a hand with Force in it as long as you have another way of interacting.
Right, another way of interacting on turn 1 or at the latest turn 2. So yeah, so he Thoughtseizes. What do you think? You take the Brainstorm here? It's tough because there's no way to cast it, right?
Yeah. Problem is, I'm not sure there's actually a great card to take from Brian's hand, because this hand kind of needs a lot of different types of pieces to operate on different axes. I think I would be inclined to take Empty the Warrens, I think, actually.
Okay. I can see that. That makes sense. If you draw something that can't go off immediately.
I would not be surprised to see Brian take the Brainstorm as well, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think some folks in chat were asking why BBD didn't bring in Pithing Needle, and if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't stop LED because it's not.
They were all trolling, buddy. Don't worry about that.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I shouldn't take chat too seriously, but yeah, it doesn't stop the LED and such because of their mono abilities. Come at me.
Oh, you took an LED. That's interesting.
Interesting.
All right. So, what do you Thoughtseize if you're Bryant here? Probably Brainstorm.
Yeah, that's what I would hit. I mean, I don't want to be the guy that just always recommends Thoughtseizing Brainstorm, but I think in this case it is much more right than it was in the reverse case.
I think the reason to take that Brainstorm is you just look at BBD's mana curve and you would like to cast Brainstorm. Ooh, Forcible, a reasonable draw.
Yep.
Bryant is actually going to play it pretty slow here, I think, though. So he's going to know about that force before anything happens.
That's true. Okay, so you drew the pedal. Do you Brainstorm here, or do you there's nothing really exciting to Thoughtseize, I don't think, unless you're trying to hit the Snapcaster out so that BBD can't Brainstorm. So he's going to do that, and then he's going to see that new Force Will.
Yeah, that seems extremely likely. I think if I'm BBD, I would probably just snap. Ooh. Okay, so this was the other thing I was about to say. I think if you do take the Force Will, you get Snapcaster Brainstormed, or Snapcaster Thoughtseize next turn, rather.
Right.
Which, I guess, Bryant just wanted to remove the clock.
Yep, and I guess BBD's down so low in cards now that I guess he'd have to make a decision next turn of keeping the Jace for the Force Will or just playing him in Brainstorming. And I'm pretty sure you just play him in Brainstorm. So you hope you hit a blue, but
awkward. Just draw a bunch of spells.
That is
awkward. Can't Mox a Brainstorm to Brainstorm again. I'm not sure I like doing that this turn.
Yeah, and you have no way to kind of use the LED in this hand configuration for the next couple turns, unless I'm mistaken.
I think you technically could, but it involves you putting a Brainstorm on the stack and cracking LED in response.
Ah, okay.
The problem with that is BBD will snap off the Force if you do that.
Right.
That's the issue. I don't think that's a good line of play. So
what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to just play it slow and just
I think
pass?
Have to. The actual hope, I think, is that BBD jams Jace next turn, doesn't find a blue card for his Force, and you get to do something.
Mm-hmm. So what are BBD's chances of hitting a blue card in the top 4, I guess, because he gets a regular draw step plus the Brainstorm from Jace?
Well, you would have to know how he exactly sideboarded to compute that.
Fair enough.
It's hard to tell from here because we don't have the sideboarded deck in front of us, but you can sort of guess. It's probably I would go about 1/3 chance, maybe a bit higher.
I'm guessing he has about 23, 24 from like a very quick, rough look at the list and what he probably sided in.
Wow,
maybe a little higher.
An excellent.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good draw because now you can just slam the Jason. Even if he goes off, you just Toxic Deluges him away.
Yep.
That could seal the deal here if Bryant goes for it next turn.
Blue card as well. So I would actually put the Deluge on top, and in fact, he's going to do. Brian's been around the block a couple of times. He knows how to hide his good cards from discard.
That being said, I might have given some due consideration to keeping the him in hand and putting the Volcanic Island below the Toxic Deluge on top of your deck.
What's the advantage of keeping a spell in your hand?
Well, because I guess next turn you can cast it, because, you know, I guess, oh, sorry, you can just brainstorm next turn with Jason, find it again.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay, so now he's doing the brainstorm, but he did not do the brainstorm LED sack thing that you had discussed earlier. So, man, and he doesn't hit a fetch land or any way to get rid of these things either. So, I guess, is he just going to go for it? I guess so.
Yeah, and...
Oh, BBD's going to force this Chromox, I think, and that's going to be... Oh, or just let it resolve and talk to Deluge away.
No,
this looks really bad.
I think he'll just let it resolve because he knows not much bad can happen to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's no way that this Tendrils chain could be lethal, even if he had Tendrils, so...
I have been, in fact, around the bog. Bajuka bog.
Oh, but BBD looks like he is going to force this here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, we can see hands.
Right.
Brian has seen an Empty the Warrens earlier.
True.
So I find that kind of... I guess he just wanted to follow up with the him to this turn.
Right. I guess, you know, if you do that, you can ensure that Bryant can't do something you weren't expecting on that turn. You can kind of then him this turn and pretty much shut a lot of the doors that maybe he might have had open. Yep.
And this Beb is actually pretty good versus Bryant's deck because it hits Burning Wish.
Right, and some of the other ritual effects.
There's only Rite of Flame, right?
Yeah, but that one. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I were in control of an advantage bar right now, it'd be like hovering all the way over Brian's creepy looking face, KFC face.
The KFC minion overlord face.
The zombie overlord. It looks like a zombie overlord, actually, now that I think about it.
It also looks like he's got a really menacing goatee there with like the middle part cut out.
Oh, that goatee has slain many a wizard.
Right. I think it's slain every creature type in Magic. Even Grizzlebrand runs away from that BBD icon.
I don't think a Siege Rhino has died to that goatee.
Well, no, but Siege Rhino is part of his army.
Yes, and so is Inoffensive the Foremost.
Why isn't Siege Rhino a zombie rhino? I don't have enough zombie rhinos running around.
Alright, well, I think we can call it pretty soon. I wonder how many brainstorms it'll take for Brian to concede.
That's a good question. I mean, right now, there's no threats, but there you go. Snapcaster is a great one at doing that. So, do you just EOT, Snap, Brainstorm, and just start getting the clock going? Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Or Snap, Thoughtseize, right?
Yeah. True, you could do that.
It's kind of funny that we leave in Baleful Strix just because it cantrips, and it's a blue card for your
right, pitch for Forcible, yeah.
It's not particularly exciting card, but I think it's probably better than alternatives.
Right. He probably shaved a couple, though, right? Oh, I guess we'll find out in a minute when we see the other lists.
Like, we had Fatal Pushes, Lightning Bolts, Diabolic Edicts that we needed to get out of our deck first. So
that's like 2, 6, and he had, what, 2 Fluster, 2 Blue Elemental Blast, a Hymn to Turok, the Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast to bring in, and the Surgical. So, yeah, that's a lot of cards to bring in, though. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count 10 cards to bring in.
Yeah. Anyways, this will probably do it now. So the nice thing about this is we still have Snapcaster Force, so not too much bad can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see a fetch and then a hardcast Baleful Strix. Because 1, 2, 3... No, maybe
How often do you not hardcast your Baleful Strixes, Travis?
When I have Allurin in play.
Ooh, that's a good point. What do you think of decks like Allurin right now without Deathrite Shaman?
So I played against Aloran at the Pro Tour. It did not seem very good.
Yeah.
The problem is I think all of the axes you want to fight on as that deck are not great. You're like a worse combo deck and you're a worse mid-range deck.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, I literally played against that guy over voltage. Said fellow tried to tap Noble Hierarch and Savannah to cast a Baleful Strix. I looked at his Savannah, I'm like, that's a Savannah, not a Scrubland.
They do look pretty similar, but yeah.
They do. That's why I didn't think he was cheating. I'm just like, well, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely the right response.
Yeah. And also Reanimator crushes Aloran, so yeah.
Oh man, so this Burning Wish could be a really sweet draw in this situation if your opponent didn't have Blue Elemental Blast, Snapcaster Mage, and your graveyard full of tricks and goodies to flashback.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Bryant is just farming more information, even though he knows he's most likely dead, just to see how BBD sideboarded. Atopic Force is pretty good there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as we've been saying for a little while, I don't really see any way Bryant gets out of this. There you go. Here's the Colligan's command that you can use this shatter effect, as you were mentioning earlier. Oh. And the thing that you mentioned about discarding the last card that a Storm player has in hand in response to their last ritual or something, I never actually thought of that, but that's actually a really cool use case for Colligan's command.
So that used to come up with Funeral Charm and Emptying the Warrens in Standard.
Okay. All right, and he's added up. He's packing it in.
All right. I mean, Snapcaster him, obviously, you'd have to draw so unbelievably hot, and the Jace would have to find him nothing, right. And he would have to not use Jace's Fate Seal instead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that kind of came up against Bob, too, right? Is if that initial exchange of, discard spells and resources and cantrips and stuff and playing lands, if you get the Storm player down low, it can be very hard for them to rebuild to have a hand to work with again to go off.
So look at this. Brian is siding out his Baleful Strixes now, most of them, just for cards that do anything.
Do you think that he realized they just literally don't do anything and he's got enough free cards, or do you think that it's a play draw thing? I think it's probably the former.
No, I think that you just don't do anything.
Yeah.
So you can use your blast to hit a cantrip. The Strix is just 2 mana 1/1, replace itself with a different card from your deck.
And he looks like, I don't know if he had it in already, but he does have 3 Colgast commands now in the deck, which is his starting number.
K command in.
He's added it back in, yeah. That makes sense, considering how we saw that game play out and the tricks you were mentioning you can do with K command.
All right, so I would keep BBD 6-card hand, and Bryant's 7-card hand looks fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would not be excited about BBD's hand, but I would keep it if I'm down to 6.
Yeah, I mean, with the Scry, it's just a reasonable hand to keep.
I will say, though, that Bryant will be able to discard, and then if he draws, a couple more pieces, it's off to the races. Yeah, makes sense. Snap, take the Blue Elemental Blast, considering you have your red Ritual and your red Tutor.
Well, also, that's literally the only card Duress could take.
True. It's a good point. But I like to think that he thought about it. Planning his next couple plays.
So
do you Thoughtseize here? Do you care about hitting that Snapcaster Mage?
I'm actually considering if we're supposed to cast Empty the Warrens this turn. Or 8.
Oh, interesting.
Can you cast Thoughtseize too? You can't. You can't.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Because it's 6/2.
Oh, he's going for it, though. He's going for it.
I think that's probably correct because you've seen BBD's hand.
So that means that he's going to get, 6 Goblin tokens? But then BBD's going to untap, play a Snapcaster Mage, chump 1. He's got 5 tokens left. I don't know if that gets him there if BBD draws anything.
It actually does, unless a BBD draws a bunch of creatures in a row. Because it's...
Oh, it's 8 tokens. Okay. That's only...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said empty for 8, right?
You very well might have.
Yeah. Now, Brainstorm, a good draw there. Now, I think his plan is to just turbo cantrip and try to find the Deluge very quickly. But yeah, I think 8 Goblins is definitely good enough. And 6 might have actually been good enough, too, considering his hand was so bad.
8 is definitely enough. 6, you play a Snapcaster, you get hit for 5, you go to 15. You play another Snapcaster, and you can blue elemental blast one of them. So then you get hit for, 3. I don't know if that gets you there, but 8 should do the trick.
Yep.
So let's see. So BBD. So he'll get hit for 8 this turn, and he can't do anything because that brainstorm was really bad. So he'll play a fetch, and then he'll fetch it away, and I guess see what he top decks and try Snapcaster Brainstorm. But at that point, he's being hit for 8 and then 7. So yeah, I don't. Looks like he has one, maybe 2 turns to draw. 2 turns, I guess, to draw a sweeper.
He has. I don't think the Snapcaster is going to be fast enough because I believe the turn you cast that, you get killed.
So you get hit for 8 here.
Yeah, 8.
I think you get another turn after that.
Yeah, actually, no. He gets. No, he does get 2 Snapcaster Brainstorm this turn. Yeah.
But still, I think he's only got 2 Toxic Deluges he can hit. No Engineered Explosives, no Marsh Casualties.
Chat saying, wish for Goblin Warstrike. I'm not sure if Bryant plays that card anymore.
You should just wish for a Grape Shot. Just show him who's boss.
It might actually be the correct play, I think.
Just to clean up on the next turn, if you can find a ritual or something, just ritual Grape Shot and hit him for 2.
Yeah.
Let's see what he goes for.
Could also get. Oh, I guess it also makes sense because that means a ritual into that is 4 damage towards your opponent's life total, and conveniently 8 + 4 is lethal.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. That's
the right play.
Moreover, I guess there's no reason for BBB not to wait. Not that I can think of, but if BBB can't be casting the Snapcaster on his turn, if Bryant gets any more mana, but I guess it doesn't matter. If he gets a mana spell, then BBD's dead anyway. Although if he chumps with a Snapcaster, 4 + 7 is 11 because of the fetch, so that still works out.
Interestingly, because of the Brainstorm being the draw and not a ritual, I don't think we can actually cast Tendrils this turn.
Yes, I don't think there's no ritual that he could get, and he doesn't have enough. He get to keep 2 cards, and there's no 1 card that gets him to the 4 mana.
Right.
So we get a Brainstorm, and that's it, right? This is the Brainstorm plus natural draw. So I guess this Brainstorm, if he doesn't draw Toxic Deluge, then BBD will be taken down by the Goblins. Is that right?
We've died. That's sad.
Yep. Well, there you have it. Gobo's too strong. Just put in a pile of Goblins and say, can you answer these 1/1s?
Empty the Horns is the best burn spell ever.
Oh, Chat makes a good point. Ponder, Shuffle into Deluge. I didn't, there's enough mana. We can do it here.
It's true.
But at that point, even then, Brian probably can just draw a couple more rituals and mini tendrils you out. But here we go.
You need
the C3.
One.
C3. 1.
We drew on the C. Sad.
All right. There you have it. That was the last game of round 5 of week 4 of the Legacy Premier League. And Brian Cook wins the match.
Yeah, I think given the breakdown of this group, Storm was a reasonably good deck. Obviously, my matchup is not great. And I think in a 3-game set, I think Bryant is probably favored in game 1. And post-board games, BBD is favored, but not by a lot. Right.
That makes sense. I think the pre-board game is pretty rough for the Grixis control deck with all the removal mucking up its hand. But here you go. Here's the bracket from this week. And why don't you run us through it, Travis?
What's that?
Do you want to run us through this bracket of today?
Oh, yeah. So Bob took down BBD, 4-color Loam over Grixis. Then Bob took down Bryant, winning the group. And I lost to Bryant.
That makes sense. And so then the winners finals was Bob versus Bryant, and 4-color Loam took that down against Storm on the backs of Chalice of the Void and some of the hate bears that 4-color Loam plays. So that made Bob Huang the winner of the group, and kicked Bryant Cook into the losers finals, where he faced off with the winner of BBD versus Jarvis.
Yeah, which was unfortunately not me. But there was a lot of good Magic played this evening, and I mean, I personally think the game 3 I played against Brian was pretty good to watch.
Yeah, it was good to watch. You were dredging a lot, and it looked like you were trying to hit those punching fires there to start cleaning up the board, because you had those Mazevists that could really slow it down, but is that not what you were trying to do?
Well, so my plan for the longest time was to just live as long as possible until I hit a punching fire. And my plan was not to play that loam until I drew a cycling land.
Right, yeah, we saw you be very patient with that.
The probability of him having a second surgical there felt extremely high. In fact, I made a joke in the...
We saw it, actually, yeah. Mike put it up on the screen where you had that little exchange with BBD.
Yeah, I'm like, so you have 4 surgicals in his hand? And he played a Gurmag Angler, and... Okay, so you have 2 surgicals in your hand left? Yeah, and I'm not sure why Brian fired the surgical on the loam so quickly, because I thought he would have given a little bit more thought to me having the Tranquil Thicket right there. I'm not
Fair enough. There was a discussion between Phil Gallagher and Julian that potentially it might have been a safer line for him to surgical your Wasteland there instead of the loam, because you were getting back the Wasteland, and that's what was going to be doing the damage at that turn, although in the longer term, obviously, you want to get the loam.
Yeah, and he ended up surgicaling the Wasteland, I think, 2 turns later.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I didn't have enough time to quite try to take him off all of his mana sources. I think that would have taken way too long. I needed to use my stages not to copy Wastelands, but to copy mazes to not die.
Right. Yeah, no, it seemed that if you hit a punching fire in some of those earlier dredges, you would have had plenty of time to clear the board of the small creatures, and then the Mazevith can just, tackle the bigger ones, and you could have had a lot of time.
I knew the danger was he has Pithing Needles in his deck, so I don't have infinite time. So I was actually trying to balance making enough mazes, wasting his lands, and leaving up Crows and Grip on certain turns.
For the Pithing Needle.
So, unfortunately, Brian saw through all of that and just surgicaled my Crows and Grips.
Yeah, that was a really heads-up play. That was an impressive line that he took, and it looked like he'd been trying to get that going for a little while, and you knew he was going to try and do that, and he knew that he was trying to do that. So it was cool to have the commentators point that out and see 2 Magic Masters kind of battling it out and seeing the end game that they want to realize in their match, and both trying to work towards it from way turns before. It was really beautiful to see that unfold.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would describe myself as a master anymore, given how much losing I've been doing lately. But I mean, I do believe I navigated that match at least reasonably well.
Yeah, it was a good match to watch. That was a good game to watch in particular as well, for sure. So, do you have any last thoughts about the decks in this week of the league, or anything coming out of the Pro Tour?
So, it's interesting. I think Chalice of the Void is an extremely good card now, and I think we're finally seeing Legacy realizing Chalice is really good and trying to adapt to it.
Yeah, I think you saw some of the ways that folks tried to innovate to adapt to it, like the Blue-Black Shadow deck. I guess the Pro Tour teams decided that it didn't make sense to give up worse mono base to add a 3rd color, but they found innovative solutions to the Chalice problem with Throne of Geth, which is pretty interesting.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that we're coming to a close here. So why don't we take a moment to thank our sponsors again? So that's Card Hoarder, Cardboard.live, mtgfirst.com, and with support from the Epic Storm website. And thank you all again for joining us for Week 4 of the Legacy Premier League.
Yep. Have a good one, y'all.
Thank you all, and we'll see you again soon.